Bless you.
My name is Charlotte. I was born in the northeast of Scotland. I am 30 years old.
Well, I'm Danilo, I'm 32 and I'm from Brazil.
I am working in a small holding, which is like a farm, only smaller.
So Fenix Farm is a project that we've been dreaming about in the last 2 years since we traveled and we saw other people, the way they lived, and we just saw that it was possible.
The thought process began last August after we had very, very devastating fires here.
When we saw other people in other countries doing what we envisioned doing in the future, we thought like, why we have to wait for 30 more years to do what we want to do? Why don't we start right now?
When we got here, all we had was a basil plant, and we used to put it out in the sun because we lived in the village, and then we take it out, and then the year after that we had tomatoes and peppers and sweet potatoes, and now we have all this. Like, now we would like to be at some point self-sustainable, feeding ourselves, feeding our volunteers, also inspiring those that come to work here.
It's really about inspiring and being sustainable. Get more and more people inspired so we can become stronger together. Yeah, obviously that's what we want to do, sustain ourselves, you know. I've never done anything like this before. Every day I'm learning something.
I just start, put something in the ground and grow it. It's fun.
I'm trying to minimize my own impact. Every day I'm more conscious about it, one step at a time. You know, like, there's no point for me as well to tomorrow start fighting all the battles in the world, because I'm not gonna win any of them.
A lot of people are dissatisfied with the way society is and jobs are, and so we get a lot of people coming that are trying to escape that.
I'm trying to be part of the change.
We are in our final week here in Monchique in Portugal with our first project of the ABLE2SUSTAIN World Tour, which is actually a permaculture farm of Charlotte and Danilo.
And now we wanted to show you around what we learned during this month and what we have been doing, and yeah.
Okay, first project in one of the first days, I guess, when we came here, is the tomatoes. What they have done here before we came already was building the structure. They planted the tomato plants. They need some support to get off the ground. We did this by using strings. In between they planted some basil, and it's a natural insect repellent for the tomatoes. So it's actually very useful what we've been learning here. And in the past couple of weeks the tomatoes started growing. They planted different varieties among each other, and now they are turning red because it's on a very sunny terrace. So what we've learned here is that in the permacultural principle you plant species together who can help each other grow, or as with the basil and the tomatoes, can keep each other more healthy. What we also learned is that it's never good to plant one species in a very huge amount, because there's a bigger chance of getting diseases. To make the work more easy, they made an automatic water system for the tomatoes, which was placed with pipes just right under where the tomato plants were growing, under the cardboard and under the layer of hay. So in a hilly area like this, they use actually gravity for the water to flow through the pipes. So there's no electricity needed. But of course, when you're on a flat terrain, you might have to use a pump, either to pump the water through the water system, or on the other hand, to pump the water up from the ground.
On this kind of permaculture systems, the main problem is the maintenance, because you need a lot of work to keep it going. With this kind of smart solutions, you can reduce the work a lot.
So as you can see here, they planted some courgette and onions to make space between the different kinds of tomatoes to prevent plagues.
What you can see here is a little experiment that they were doing. This system is called the Three Sisters and is original from America, where the native people was using it for a long time. These Three Sisters are corn, beans and melons. Each one of these plants has different requirements and different space needs or nutrient needs, and then they combine each other really good, because the corn, it grows up, and then the beans can grow through the corn, using the corn as support, while the melon is spreading on the leftover ground and not letting so much empty spaces in between.
So in the lowest two terraces of their land, Charlotte and Danilo, the founders of this project, they decided to start growing a food forest. So due to the fire here in 2018, all the organic material on the top of the soil has burned, which made the ground here very poor. So that's why they decided just to start planting things, keep also the weeds growing, because they need to build up that organic material again.
They also use the overflowing of water from the main tank to make this little pond here, and the area surrounding this pond is much more moisture, so a lot of herbs can grow around it.
So the nice thing of a food forest is that you can walk through and find really different kinds of fruits and vegetables, especially in summertime, to just pick and use. So that's the idea of a food forest, that you can forage around in search of the fruits and vegetables which are ready at the moment.
Another of the nice things about a food forest is that on the future, when the ecosystem is more stabilized, it will not require almost maintenance. And as a down aspect is that sometimes when you need to be watering it, it can be complicated to find the plants that you need to water.
They also started planting some small trees, fruit trees, but also just native trees from the area here, because when they grow, they provide shade for many other plants.
one of the other tanks from the farm, they are doing a small river, and we're finishing a pond also in one of the fruit forests. And the objective of all these constructions is to keep the water on the area. So we have some sources of water that we keep in the water tanks, but we want it also to spread around the farm in a way that the plants can benefit from it.
It's so nice.
I know I pick it. There are snakes.
Take a good posture.
Are you alive?
So one of the things we've been doing in the evenings is helping with the watering. Because we are in the south of Portugal and it's quite a dry area, we need to water the plants which are not automatically watered yet. So that's why they made a watering system where they divided their land into small pieces, and it's very clear what to water every day of the week.
They build also this greenhouse to keep the plants that are starting to grow in a better condition, or some tropical varieties that they have as well. And when they want to bring them to the outside, they cannot bring them directly. They need to pass first through a cold frame, and the cold frame is here next to the greenhouse. Right now it's almost empty. There is only a couple of tomatoes, peppers and some plants that they are going to plant later on. But the idea of the cold frame is to reduce the shock of temperature between being in the greenhouse and the exterior.
So one of the things we've been doing here is making stairs up the hill towards the hen house. The stairs actually help so that there's less erosion of the mountains, plus it's easier to walk up and down, of course. We've been building the stairs with natural materials and materials we found around. So some wood, which we found in the ruin, and bamboo, which is growing here in the area. And the bamboo we actually used really as a good building material to keep the stairs into place. Now we're gonna check for some eggs.
Six in the morning. Helen is awake. I'm going to open the chickens. We have them closed in the night because we don't want any animal to eat them. In fact, yesterday a dog was charging against them and I screamed to the dog stopped just 1 meter far from the chicken, and then our friend dog just charged against this other dog like crazy. It was a close call. Good morning. You are not going to believe this. Not so long ago I told you about the dog that attacked the chickens, and today a mongoose. And I was preparing the toilet and it's up there. I was finishing the roof and then I hear suddenly a lot of noise from the chickens. I begin to do noise because I thought that was the dog of the other time, and while doing noise I was running down through this place, and when I arrive almost to this rock I see the mongoose here with the chicken on the mouth. So I see that it's not letting the prey go, was totally in. So I needed to jump from that rock. I thought there was a river there, so I jumped until the way and came running and making noise. And luckily he let the chicken go. But you can see that it was not without a fight. I don't know.
First pizza.
Coming! It's a pizza! Yay! Oh!
Oh yeah! Oh, you like my vents? Nice.
Wait for
It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay.
I just arrived there